is 4 minus 1, that's 3, quick maths. Everyday man's on the block.
Right, so with all of these, the best way to understand which operation you should be doing first is by understanding the flowcharts. So in building this expression here, I start off with an x, and the first thing that happens to the x here is what? It's divided by 3. So that's divided by 3 to become x over 3. And then minus the 5. So this would become x over 3 minus 5. So like I've said, you don't have to do these flowcharts every single time, but it helps us conceptualize when we're doing this backtracking what has to happen first. So we've built this expression, and now we want to work our way back to the x. So to work our way back, we have to do the inverse process. So rather than subtracting 5, we'll add 5. And then rather than dividing 3, we'll multiply by 3. So this shows us, this is always the first process. This one here when we're trying to go back. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides. In a different color, plus 5 plus 5. So I'm left with just x over 3, because minus 5 plus 5 is 0. So the only thing that's left is the x over 3 is equal to 11. Then we come back to our flowchart. The next thing that has to happen is we multiply both sides by 3. So you times by 3 and times by 3. Why? Because now 3 divided by 3 is just 1, so I'm just left with x, or 1x, and that's equal to 33. In the second one, if we're building this expression on the left, again, we always start off with the x. We want to create this expression, so what's the first thing that has to happen to the x? We subtract the 5 to become x minus 5, but we're not quite there yet because we still need to multiply by the 4. So then times 4, so I have 4 by x minus 5. Now, backtracking, we do the inverse process. So since on the way up we were multiplying by 4, now we divide by 4. Remember, that will always tell us the first thing that we have to do here. And here, rather than subtracting 5, now we're going to be adding 5, the inverse process. So the first thing I need to do to both sides of the equation is divide by 4. And we can see that we're just going to be left with, because 4 divided by 4 is just 1, all that's left on the left-hand side. Good. X minus 5 is equal to 2. Now we come back to our flowchart again. On the way up, we minus 5. So going the opposite way, we're going to add 5 to both sides. So then we're balancing the equations. So we're just left with x is equal to 7. So that's what you should have got for question 10. And then the last one, again, you do not have to do these flowcharts every time, but if you find that you're making a few errors, it's a good idea to do them. So, last one, let's start off with the x. Let's build the equation. What's going to be the first thing that happens to the x? No, we have to do the plus 12 first. So we add the 12 to get x plus 12. Then we divide by the 9. So we get x plus 12 over 9. And now with the backtracking, let's go back the other way. I'm going to multiply by 9. And the opposite, or the inverse process, I'm going to subtract 12. So let's use that now. The first thing that I'm going to do to this side of the equation is
Subtract 12.
Always this one first.
Times 1.
Multiply by 9. So I times this by 9, times this by 9. what am I going to be left with on the left-hand side now? Good. X plus 12 is equal to 18. Come back to my flowchart. The next thing that happens, I have to subtract 12. Minus 12, minus 12. So X will be equal to 6. So you can see we've learnt how to build these expressions using the flowcharts. Through that backtracking, it shows us what process we have to do to get this expression back to that original X. So that's why we spent a few lessons learning how to do those flowcharts originally.